Can you hear us?
There, yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to say I'm Aaron Choate. I'm here at the University of Texas Libraries, and this is the TDL Forum. Laura just gave a great introduction to the meeting, and it was fascinating. But I'm here to give you an update on the Digital Preservation Network work that we've been doing and bringing up the Texas Preservation Node here at UT Libraries and TDL. So the Digital Preservation Network launched production services in the spring of this year, and along with that, Texas started replicating content for DEEPN and has been working with the DEEPN team to prepare for ingesting material through TDL. The version 2 of the code that acts as the core of DEEPN has been finalized, and they're working to merge the code into their master branch, and they'll be rolling that out to the network in the next week or so. Once that is complete, the Texas Preservation Node will be able to start ingesting the content that people have been preparing. So if you happen to be a DEEPN member and have been working with Mary to do a deposit agreement, or if you've been working on a deposit agreement through Christy and the staff here at TDL, we will be able to ingest content fairly soon. So I wanted to give a little bit of an update as to what we've been doing here in the libraries to prepare our content for the use of our quota that we have from our DEEPN membership. Part of it is going through and identifying the resources that we want to submit. We've been looking for things that are unique to UT, items that are particularly valuable, things where we have the metadata available, and things that we prepared in our vaulting system for the eventuality that something like this would come to pass. We've been looking at for and identifying for this first year the things that would be simple for us to pull off of our systems and prepare for submission. In upcoming years, what we're looking at doing is acting more as a common core service for campus with our DEEPN code collection, and we're establishing a selection committee that will talk to people on campus who have collections that they might want to submit and identify which of those collections we want to devote our Common Core funding to versus which faculty members might be working on grant projects that want to include DEEPN submission in their grant proposals as part of their data management plans. So we have several faculty members who have written this into their data management plans and funding for this into their grant proposals from NSF and NEH and a variety of other places. Our digital stewardship group here in the libraries will be acting as a core depositor for the UT libraries into the TDL DuraCloud instance. And so we've established some recommendations, a Baggett spec, for example, and some sample workflows that we'll be using to serve our local clients. And our digital stewardship group would be glad to share those as examples if anybody would like to contact me, and I'll put you in touch with Wendy Martin, who is leading that effort. So in the next year, we'll be formalizing our service and the selection process at that broader level. And at the TDL level, we'll be ingesting content fairly soon. And I think that's about it. Email me if you have any questions, or I'll pause now if you have anything specific you want to ask now. Okay, seeing none.
Well, Sandy.
Oh, are you guys typing? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, we'll share out when the first ingest happens in a few weeks. We'll share out that has happened, and then I think Christy and Ryan will work to communicate when they're ready to do TDL ingests for members.
Now, let us know now. So the question from Sean is, when can we ask for spaces to be created on our TDL DuraCloud interfaces to prep for ingest to deepen? Sean has some insight into how this is supposed to operate. So the way it works is we create a snapshot space in S3 that you would see as TPIN within the DuraCloud interface. We need to set that up within our infrastructure. So if you are planning to do this anytime in the next few months, the sooner you ask us, the better. And I can check and see if we already set that up with A&M. I don't actually recall off the top of my head at the moment.
I want to add too that for those members out there who are not direct members with DEEPIN, I want to reiterate that this is a service that's available to all TDL members because of your membership in the Texas Digital Library. We are a consortial member on your behalf. But in order to use this DEEPIN service, each institution does have to sign a deposit agreement directly with DEEPIN. So if you're an institution that's not a one-on-one, doesn't have a one-on-one relationship with DEEPIN right now, but you want to use this DEEPIN service, remember that there's a process that we have to go through in getting that DEEPIN deposit agreement signed. Ed asks, are there additional costs or is it covered through TDL membership? There are additional per terabyte costs. So each TDL member is a consortial member of DEEPIN by virtue of your TDL membership. That means you don't have to pay the $20,000 per year membership fee in DEEPIN to get access to the service. But there is still a per terabyte one-time fee that covers preservation of the content that's deposited over a 20-year period. And that fee currently is around $4,000. It has changed recently, and so I just drew a blank on what the number is. But it's around $4,000 per terabyte. That covers 20 years of preservation. Actually, I think it's $4,900, but it's coming down in future years, that number. Yep. Are there other questions about how UT is selecting materials or preparing materials? I wanted to ask Aaron, when you talk about sample workflows, are you talking about workflows for different types of content, or are there multiple workflows that you're looking at?
We're not. It's really a workflow the digital stewardship group is using internally to take the material that they've digitized and bring it into this Baggett spec and then prepare it for syncing. So it's not specific to the type of content at the point where this would come into play.
Okay.
I have asked them to do a presentation at TCDL or submit a proposal for TCDL. I think it'd be really valuable for everybody to see.
Okay, well, thank you, Erin. And also just a reminder, if you have additional questions, we'll have this available. And of course, these slides will be available and the recording after the forum. So thank you so much, Erin. Next up, we have a few community updates. First of all, we had the first TDL Fall Data Symposium earlier this month in November, and it hosted at Baylor University Libraries. And it was a great symposium. We had 45 attendees from various positions, librarians, the Office of Research, some faculty members, and there were a number of great discussions there. 86% of our TDL member institutions were represented, and a lot came out of that. We have some pictures up, and we'll have more information about that coming out in the next couple of weeks. Let's see. And also on that note, there were a number of things in that program for the symposium, a great data management workshop, sessions on data management planning and faculty outreach, and interactive sessions and copyright. So we have more information and slides from those presentations and workshops available in the TDL institutional repository. So feel free to check those out if you missed anything. Also, just a reminder, the TCDL conference will be in May 23rd through 25th here in Austin, and we're happy to announce that Mike Casey, Director of Technical Operations for Indiana University's Media Digitization and Preservation Initiative, will be the keynote speaker. So we're really excited to have Mike join us. They've done some amazing work up there at Indiana University. And we'll have more about his talk and the programming coming out in the next couple of weeks. But for now, a reminder that the call for proposals is due February 3rd, and we'll be notifying people mid-March. And also the early bird registration deadline is April 14th. So go ahead and start sending in those proposals, because February will be here before we know it. So maybe you can use some of the Christmas time off to write up your submissions. Also, we have the call for nominations for the TDL Awards. And this year we have a new award in addition to the other 6, but we have a Graduate Student Excellence Award, which we're excited about. So the deadline for that will be January 31st, and we'll also notify people mid-March. As part of the TDL Awards, of course, awardees will receive a free complimentary registration to TCDL per project. And to view more information about the criteria and to submit using the form, just go to tdl.org/awards. And we look forward to recognizing the amazing work in digital libraries throughout Texas. And another reminder, the South Central States Fedora Users Group will be meeting in January in Houston, and it's a free registration, but that registration is required. So that'll be January 11th through 12th, and there's more information on their wiki site on DuraSpace. So we hope to see lots of you there. We'll have Ryan Steens from TDL attending.
That's reason enough to come.
Exactly. That's reason enough to mark your calendars and go ahead and register. So. And also there's a new Texas Archivematica users group that has recently started, and Drew Kruer is the chair of that group, and he's recently put together a steering committee with Sean Buckner, Bethany Scott, and myself to kind of work on getting this off the ground and going in a direction for this. And to be added to the Google group, you can contact Drew Kruer and have his email there. And we also have some information about that on the TDL website. But we're excited to see what this user group will be doing. And also, we recently announced just yesterday a survey to tell us about your digital collections. And this is part of a grant-funded project. And I'm going to let Christy say a little bit about this.
Yeah, so this digital collection survey is part of our LSTA grant-funded project to plan and prototype an expanded aggregation of the Digital Public Library of America. We got a small grant from the state library through the LSTA Library Cooperation Grant Program to work with the University of North Texas Libraries, which is serving as the current hub for DPLA through its Portal to Texas History, and with Houston Public Library to do some planning and work around expanding aggregation to collections outside of the Portal to Texas History. So part of that grant-funded project is doing an inventory as comprehensively as possible of digital collections in the state that might be eligible for aggregation and inclusion in the Digital Public Library of America. And that's what we're trying to do with this survey. We have a graduate research assistant who helped us develop it and who's also doing some secondary research, online research, to develop a broad understanding and deep understanding of the digital collections landscape. So we sent out a link to our survey through a number of lists yesterday, through TLA and a few other lists. We discovered this morning that one of the links in that survey or in that email is not working properly. So you will see, if you're on any of those lists, another email going out later today with a correct link. And I'm actually not sure that the link on this slide will work properly for you either. We just found out right before we walked in the room. So apologies for that. But we do encourage, yeah, Sandy's saying it didn't work for him. Yeah, sorry about that. So we encourage you, when you do get a workable link later today, to take the survey and tell us about your collections. We're asking for people to tell us, you know, what types of collections they're maintaining, the metadata standards they're using, and technology platforms they're using, and some other general information about the types of digital objects that they're collecting and stewarding. And this will help us design services and technology that will aggregate the metadata in those collections into a single searchable statewide portal, and also provide that metadata to the Digital Public Library of America so that it's part of their searchable catalog that aggregates existing content from libraries, archives, museums, and all kinds of cultural heritage institutions across the country. It's a neat project. We're excited to be a part of it, and we hope you'll help us out by taking that survey and by sharing it with others you know who are maintaining digital collections.
Great. And I'll just mention that following the forum, before we archive our forum slides. I'll go ahead and update this with the correct link once we get it. So hopefully we'll make that. We'll fix that. Next, we have tech team updates.
Hey, everybody. Not a whole lot of news. I just closed the window. As far as DSpace goes, we're currently rebuilding some systems. We started realizing that you guys have been doing your work with your DSpaces, and we're starting to max out on disk size. I have here that TDL would be in touch regarding downtime for those affected. Nick has already been in touch with the folks who will be affected. So if you've been having a conversation with Nick, you're the impacted. Otherwise, you can not worry about it. There's a question from Santi that's for Christy here.
Okay. Santi's asking about the survey, so backing up just a little bit. Would it be helpful to have one entry from each institution? I think we're certainly not requiring that. So if multiple people from your institution do reply, we will be able to kind of sort those and analyze accordingly. But if you at your institution want to coordinate a response or have a certain number of people respond, that is great. But we are leaving that up to each institution to kind of make that call. In the interest of getting it to as many people as possible, we are risking getting multiple responses from various institutions, but I think we're more interested in hearing from as many people as possible.
The moving on with Vario, the last demo took place yesterday, the 29th. The Aggie development team has done a tremendous job. I think if you were in the demo yesterday, you saw how all the work's really starting to come together. And you can really get a feel for how that tool is going to work. And Stephanie's done a fantastic job as product owner there. We're going to pick up again in 2017, but there is not currently a date for when that will occur. We'll continue with 3-week cycles, so it's a little lighter as far as the number of presentations you've got to go to, but it's a little more irregular than biweekly. Right now, we're getting our team, we've had some turnover, as you know, at TDL, and our staff's getting more familiar with DuraCloud, and we're continuing to take a look at that. We're looking towards what it's going to take to upgrade us. We're currently on version 3.7.1, and we'd like to be on version 4 at some point in early next year. And of course, we don't want that to collide with any of the Diplo work. So that's where we're at today. Aaron talked all about what's going on there. From our end, we've been working with UT Austin Libraries to test for ingest, and all of that's been very successful. And as Aaron stated, once the version 2 of the Diplo code or the deepen code is in place, sorry, we have so many D acronyms around here. Well, the full ingest will occur after version 2 is released, and I know Ben is chomping at the bit to get going with that. For Diplo, as Christy was just referring to that survey from the tech team's end, we talked to several other existing nodes. We of course know what's going on in Texas thanks to UNT, and we're working with Hannah Tarver there, who's a metadata librarian. And she'll be continuing to help us out through that effort. So we also installed some software locally and looked at it, and through our conversations and through quite a bit of research, we've landed on something called Supplejack out of New Zealand that we're selecting for our pilot project. So we're currently, of course, installing that locally. on a test machine, and then we're going to move it up to an AWS system once we feel more comfortable with it to see how it operates within our home environment. But that gives you kind of an update as to where we're at. Once that's up, we'll start all sorts of testing, and you'll hear about how we're working with some folks to test the system as we move along. I attended the LEDA Forum just before Thanksgiving. We co-presented with Amazon Web Services and Houston Public Library to talk about how we use Amazon Web Service and what the benefits are. So that is not of particular excitement, but I did get to go for the first time to LEDA. It's a great forum if you're working in library technologies. I highly recommend you attend. I don't know if it'll be in Texas again next year, but I'm going to be looking to go myself. And that is it for me.
And we're going to go ahead and wrap this up real quickly since we're running out of time. If you have any last minute questions, but this is just a reminder the TDL update will be coming out in a few weeks and will feature Lil Yang and Sam Houston State. And also just a reminder about the winter break. TDL will be closed 23rd through December 30th, and we have our holiday schedule up. And we won't be having a TDL Forum in December as part of the holiday break, but we'll reconvene in January. So,
great. I just want to mention too that while the offices here at TDL will be closed along with the rest of UT libraries, or our offices will be closed. I think the library will be open during that time, but we will be monitoring systems and troubleshooting anything that comes along. We have time for one question before we wrap up, and Joseph asked about the Vireo 4 demo yesterday. Ryan, do you...
Hi, Joseph. So it will be put online. Laura will put it up on the varioetd.org site. It'll appear in the TDL IR, and so you'll have access to that presentation this week. If you do have ideas, send them actually to the Vireo listserv, and I can get in touch with you about that. We have a very specific development process, so you can always send in suggestions for improvement. We'd love to hear it. But I'll talk to you a little bit about how that development process works.
Okay, well, thank you, everyone, and we hope you have a wonderful rest of the week and a great holiday, and we'll talk to you again in January. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thanks, everybody.